Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to all of you here in the sanctuary and those who are tuning in at home. So great to have you with us as we celebrate Shabbat. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger. Allison is off this evening, taking a night off, but Tim is there right down, tickling the ivories, and he will be my accompanist for this evening. In honor of International Water Day, which is on March 22nd, we have a special speaker, actually two, from Water for Mercy, and I'll be introducing them later in the service, so we welcome them as well as their family to the sanctuary this evening. We're going to begin by singing Hine Matov U'Manayim. It's on page 10 in the prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, Dwelling Place of Prayer. And we're going to be singing Ellen Allard's How Good It Is, a translation of Psalm 133. 3, 4. Matov U'Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov U'Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good it is to be together. How good it is to be together. Whoa, 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 whoa. Matov U'Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Matov U'Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good it is to be together. How good it is to be together. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And in preparation for lighting the Shabbat candles, we'll sing Light These Lights. Oh, hear my prayer I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. We have a special treat lighting the Shabbat candles. Bobby Rosenberg, past president of our congregation, I'll be giving her a mic so you can hear her. And we're on page 2 in the prayer book.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivonu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher ketivonu lahadlik ner, help me, ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Amen.
So I'd like to share a poem with you. It's a meditation on the book of Leviticus. This is the Shabbat where Jews around the world start reading and studying the book of Vayikra, and God called, the third book in the Torah. And it is called The Offering of Thanksgiving by Yaakov Azriel. Azriel was born in New York, but he made Aliyah to the state of Israel in 1971. And this poem is taken from his collection of poetry, Beads for the Messiah's Bride. I thank you for the basics, God, a bed, a table, and a lamp, a clock to tell the time when infants must be fed, a well for water, and a stove for baking bread. I thank you for the basics, yellow, red, and blue, the letters I need to spell my children and grandchildren's names, the numbers which expel 1,000 zeros, kindling stars instead. I thank you for the very basic things, your words which you have interwoven in the texture of our lives, this cloth of Torah you bring to us. Your people Israel who sings a song of songs and hears your mandolin. God, accept my thanks for everything. We're going to turn now to one of the traditional psalms that is either read or sung during the Kabbalat Shabbat, receiving Shabbat service. This one is Psalm 97, or Zarua, which is found on page 14 in the prayer book, or right on the screen in front of you. This is an arrangement by Rick Recht. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. Adonai, Behodu, Bezecher Kosho, Bezecher Kosho, Narua, La Tzadiknu, Yishrei Letzimcha. We'll continue welcoming Shabbat by welcoming the Milachim, the messengers that are said to accompany us during the 24 hours of our day of rest, Shabbat, by singing the words of Shalom Aleichem, peace be to you, messengers. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nile Shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Going to make our way to the next part of the service by singing our half Kaddish, Reader's Kaddish Words of Praise on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah b'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei tocho beit Yisrael Bagala, Bagala, Ubizman Kariv, Vimeru, Amen. Yeheshme Rabba Mivara, Ve'alamulal Mehamaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Ve'yishabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, Ve'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shemei dekudasha brihu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yama, v'meru, amen. We rise for Shema and its blessings, the call to prayer, the Baruch Hu found on page 28. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, Baruch et Adonai, Amen. Adonai, Amemora. Baruch Adonai Amora, Leolam Vayed. Baruch Adonai Amora, Leolam Vayed. turn to a prayer for creation, Ma'ariv Aravim, that's found on page 31. Feel free to join me. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the ways on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. And on page 31, we turn to the theme of love, Ahavat Olam, love of the world. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me, did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. We'll now turn to the words of the Shema, first by singing, Open Up Our Eyes. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. 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 Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue with the words, you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might on 36. Please join me in the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha, ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Going to get ready to sing the words of Mi Chamocha, our song of freedom, first by turning to these words on 39. Feel free to join me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Kamocha Baili Adonai, Ki Kamocha Edar Bakoden, Ki Kamocha Baili Adonai, Ki Kamocha Edar Bakoden. Kamocha Edar Bakoden, Ki Kamocha Baili Adonai, Ki Kamocha Edar Bakoden, Norati Lo. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise to you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Now turning from words of freedom to words of shelter and protection, this prayer, Hashkivenu, which you can find on 42. Many Jewish people throughout the world will say this along with the Shema before they go to bed in the evening. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu, v'shalom, v'hamidenu. Eloheinu, v'shalom, hamideinu, Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamdeinu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamdeinu shomreinu l'chaim. Hamdeinu shomreinu l'chaim. Hamdeinu shomreinu l'chaim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We're going to continue now with our standing prayers called the Tefillah. Ask all of us to rise for these prayers, thanking God for the merit of those who came before us, those generations, for strength and for holiness. We begin on 46 and continue on even pages. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasei Avot V'imahot, Umevi geula livnei v'neihem, leman shemo b'ava. Melech hozer Moshia umagin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Vezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, Mechaye hakol, Atah Rav leoshia, Mashiv haruach umorid agashem. Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha bal givurot, Umido melach, Melech meimit umechaye, umatmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukadoshim b'chol yom yalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el HaKadosh. Feel free to be seated. Continue with the fourth, fifth, and sixth blessing in the Tefillah. First on 55 for the holiness of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. And for worship called Avodah in Hebrew on 56. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato litzion, a prayer asking for God's presence to always be in Zion and Israel. And for goodness on 59. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha u'ha na'eh lechodot. And finally, our prayer of peace, of shalom, is found on 60. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever, for you're the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. Let's take a few moments for our own thoughts, prayers, and reflections, and then we'll sing Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Nasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Nasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech hador, Lechol HaShalom, Ki atahu melech hador, Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Nasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Nasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Nasim Leolam. Nasim Leolam. Nasim Let's now turn to a prayer of healing called Misha Berach, God the one who blesses. For those of you here with a prayer book, it's on the middle of 253, and this is our time to call to mind and heart those in our community and beyond who need strength, healing, and courage. We, of course, think of all the families and individuals throughout the world who are battling COVID, wish for their smooth recovery, as well as thinking of the following individuals for healing: Lily Blackwell, Herb Bloom, Marcy Bunn, Lisa Cargile, Eddie Deerfield, Matthew Deinhardt, Edie Eckber, Yona Feinstein, Heather Felser, Harry Fleisch, Myra Friedman, Sandra Freifeld, Andrew Guerin, Mark Gittimer, Leah Gottlieb, Myron Graff, Jody Kaplan, Jeff Karp, Arthur Mahler, Aaron Mailer, Arnold Miller, William Miller, Marcia Mollet, Bella Uziel, Bob Rosen, Stephanie Ross, Mickey Siegel, Sue Schoenbaum, Betty Sharp, Jeff Stark, Carrie Taylor, and Michael Wallerstein. And if there are any names you'd like to add, either at home, you can say them aloud, or here in the sanctuary, feel free. We offer the prayer Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. I'm so pleased to introduce our two guest speakers this evening, Nermeen Rubin and Samantha Rubin. They last spoke to our congregation. It was about 2 or 3 years ago, I've heard. I had the pleasure of having lunch with Nermeen right on the coast. It was quite beautiful to talk about the organization that she helped found, Water for Mercy. Water for Mercy's mission is to transform the world one person at a time, which is the essence of Tikkun Olam, Jewish obligation of social action. Water for Mercy provides schools and villages in third world countries in Africa with permanent and sustainable water and agricultural solutions essential for life and livelihood. Using Israeli water and solar technology, they partner with villagers to bring people water and ultimately change lives. In doing so, Water for Mercy promotes the dignity of every individual created B'Tselem Elohim in the image of God. Nermeen has an MBA and a Master's of Health Science from University of Florida. She worked for 15 years in hospital administration, facilities planning, building and designing hospitals, and consulting within healthcare information management systems. Samantha Rubin, Nermeen's daughter, who's also here, is a graduate of Clearwater Central Catholic High School. And in many ways, as you'll hear, she is the impetus behind the great work of Water for Mercy. Samantha first traveled to Africa and saw firsthand the struggles that some 350 million people in sub-Saharan Africa face when gathering fresh water in remote villages. She was so moved that she asked her mom to come along on a subsequent trip to witness these challenges in person. Both Nermeen and Samantha are doing holy work, changing the world one person and one village at a time. I hope that you find their presentation insightful, meaningful, and thought-provoking. And for further information, their website, just so you know, I'm just going to read it out, water, W-A-T-E-R, the number 4, and then mercy, MERCY.org. And I'll invite them to speak right at the other podium with the microphone. So feel free to come forward. And there's also going to be a slide presentation that our tech crew in the back will help advance the slides.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you for that great introduction. Again, my name is Nermeen Rubin, and this is my daughter, Samantha. Our beautiful family is here. We have Tracy and Liliana visiting from Colorado, and my husband Les, and they've been extremely supportive. So thank you for letting us come here to share as to how we are changing lives one at a time by providing water and farming and permanent solutions with Israeli technology. And she is the one who made me do this. So with that being said, I'm gonna have Samantha go over the presentation, and then I'm gonna wrap up to tell you we've only been founded since August of 2018. And in less than 3 years, we have changed over 26,000 lives. We have over 7 villages that we've helped. And it's really because of the partners that we have and the technology, which is all from Israel, God's chosen people. So that being said, I'm introducing Samantha to do the presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here tonight. So first and foremost, Rabbi kind of went over it a little bit of Water for Mercy's mission. For those of you at home, there is a slide with our mission written on it, but essentially what it is providing a permanent solution for people who are in underdeveloped countries in a sustainable way, so that ideally in a perfect world, we work ourselves out of a job. We no longer have to go over there. We no longer have to provide these sort of solutions to them. So it's kind of a fun interactive presentation. I tried to make it. So on the next slide, you can see this highlighted green area. So just take kind of a wild guess. How many people do you guys think live in this area? Anyone? 100 million? So it's actually 1.06 billion with a B. So it's a lot more people than you think. It's a huge growing population, and it's something that is a huge problem just due to low substances. So just a couple facts and, again, some more fun interactive questions. So people have to walk long distances to get water when they live over there. So just kind of a random guess, how many football fields do you think, on average, people walk over there to get water? 20? So it's actually 15, so close. So on average, people are walking over 15 football fields to go get water multiple times a day. How many people do you believe live in the sub-Saharan Africa that actually need the water? So out of that 1.06 billion, how many people do you think need the water? 350 million. So it's almost over a quarter of the people over there don't have access to clean water. Who do you think are actually going to get the water? Like, who is actively walking those 15 football fields to go get them? Yep. It's the women and children that are the ones taking the time to, the children aren't in school, the women aren't able to be at home. Those are the ones that are walking all these distances. So I'm going to kind of walk you through a little bit of our process. So first and foremost, we identify a village in need. So we have a lot of criteria, how far are they going to get water? Has the government ever helped them? How decent is the water supply that they have? And most of them are pretty unsustainable. As you guys can kind of see on the screen a little bit, most of the time they are digging holes in the dirt. That's how they get their water. And being over there and watching this firsthand is something that is so moving. You'll never see anything like it anywhere besides these villages. So there's a lot of different pictures of showing the holes that they've created. In one of the pictures, there's actually like a pulley system that the villagers had created because the hole had to get so deep. And that just goes to show how deep you have to dig to get any sort of water, let alone clean. So these people, they wait in lines for hours. Like, they will stand there all day from sunup till sundown, and sometimes there's still not enough water for the people who are waiting. So at the end of the day, the women and children who are standing there, sometimes it gets dark and they have to go home and they still don't have it. So they come back the next day and do it all over again. So the next part of the process is when we drill for water. And I was lucky enough to travel abroad and be there for an actual drilling process. And it was so stressful. Like, I could not imagine being in a situation like that. When I went, we were in a village and we hit We would drill and we would hit a dry hole. So essentially what we're doing is we're drilling into the aquifer in these areas. And we would drill all these, we'd spend an entire day and we would drill and drill and drill and drill and drill, and an engineer would come out and be like, oh, it's dry. So then we'd just come back the next day and we'd do it all again and drill and drill and drill and drill, and it was dry again. And on the third day, we finally hit water, and everyone from our organization was crying. We were so excited. The people were dancing in the water. You can kind of see, I hope you can see that in the picture, that's when you hit the aquifer. So it's like a huge release of pressure. And the water is just spewing everywhere, and people are dancing, and everyone is so excited. It's like the happiest day of their lives. This is the first time that a lot of these people have ever seen clean water, and the first time they've ever tasted like sweet water. And it's really a very emotional and moving process. And so the last step is you get your water. And we're so lucky to have partnered with, like everyone had said, is an Israeli organization called Innovation Africa, who they have all this technology, and you're able to really monitor the systems from afar. And so it's a whole sustainable solution, since we're teaching the villagers how to manage the water. So what we do is we go in, we drill, we help them build the wells, but they're the ones doing the physical labor behind it. And then we help them open up a bank account, and we work with the villagers as to how much they want to charge for the water. And it's something super nominal, like a penny, or even less than a penny. But it's a way so that when something breaks, or if something breaks, they already have that money in their name and in their account where they can fix it. And that's the coolest part, is that we don't ever go back. We don't need to. We can do everything remote. We can monitor all of the systems, and the people can take care of it all on their own. And that's the best way to get them interested in the process, is if once they buy into the process, they're 100% committed. So there's still some more pictures just with people drinking some clean water, and I've been, again, so fortunate enough to have been over there for a ton of different opportunities, drilling and hitting water. The first time we actually turned the taps on, so it's been an incredible opportunity. So the next step is kind of the coolest part, I think, is the agricultural part. And really what we're trying to teach them is drip irrigation. So that was an Israeli technique that was founded, where it's basically a hose and with a little hole in it, and the water drips directly into the roots of the plant. And Israel did all these studies to show why are these plants so much bigger, and it just has to do with the amount of water that these plants get. They get the perfect amount right directly into their roots. There's no wasted water. And so we're able to teach these people how to farm, how to grow their own food, and by using this drip irrigation technology straight out of Israel, and teach them how to really self-sustain themselves. So now that they have access to the clean water, they're able to farm, to build bricks, they're able to sell the food that they have grown on their own. So that's going to kind of lead into a little bit of what's been kind of new, up and coming with Water for Mercy.
Right. Since we last spoke, as I said, we founded in August of 2018. We've impacted over 26,000 lives within the villagers. And one of the things that Samantha touched upon is the agricultural, and not just the drip irrigation, but the knowledge. We use hybrid seeds from Israel, and examples is a plant here of tomato plant might yield 20 tomatoes, whereas utilizing Israeli technology, you've got 70 to 120 tomatoes. The output is incredible. You have a lot of the pest control. Everything is technology, and it allows it to be optimal with the least amount of water with the largest amount of return. So based on that, I got inspired to set up schools, and we partnered with the largest Catholic vocational school in the world, a miracle, Don Bosco Technical Institutes of Africa, where we are teaching not just the students, but we're also teaching the teachers to teach. So we are sharing the Israeli technology. We've also partnered with another Israeli company called Cultivate, which are experts in agriculture, agribusiness, agripreneurs. So basically we're bringing people that have been starving from water or dying of thirst and starving, and then now they're not just eating better and healthier, but they're also making money. They're being extremely prosperous. And with the network of Don Bosco schools, we have several in the works. And if you notice, we have more partners now. Thank you, God, since people are realizing that we have a permanent solution. And because it's Israeli technology, everybody has jumped in, that we now have a coalition, which I think the last screen will show you, that we're having a big signing next Wednesday out of Israel. We're doing it all through Zoom, and we have a coalition including 7 partners now that we are expanding the core model of ATEC, which is the Agricultural Innovation and Technology Center, throughout the Don Bosco network of schools. So it's going to be throughout all of Africa. If we could show that map, and then you'll see we're going to hit over 36 countries, 120 centers, and that's where we're going to expand and basically Tikkun Olam. And we're here because we want to bring attention to the necessity of water. And on World Water Day, which is Monday, we've got a student organization here, Clearwater Central Catholic High School, where we are inspiring all the students, the youth groups throughout, to bring attention to water. So we have a challenge to have everybody tomorrow try to wash their clothes in a bucket and dry it and post it on our websites. So if you want to check out what we're doing, follow us on social media, and we're trying to bring attention to not just water, but agriculture and also self-sustainability, because we want this to be something that will be forever and ever and ever, perpetual, right? That being said, Tikkun Olam, thank you for letting us present what we're doing. We are really changing lives permanently, and I don't know if anybody has any questions. No? All right. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. No, we are not. Right now, that technology, we are looking at it, and we are looking at those organizations, and so we're always looking at new technology, which is fabulous, working with Israel and all of the innovation. At this time, harvesting water from air does not give you enough capacity. We're talking about 25,000 liters. You're talking about a lot of water twice a day that the villagers are using, that they're drinking, that they're bathing in, that they're using for agriculture. There is not that much capacity yet. However, with technology, it always gets better. So that is something we're always keeping an eye on. Yes. And I do want to say it's all solar. We're utilizing solar technology, and again, this is with our partners. The beauty is I partnered with these organizations, so they're the boots on the ground, and they have the technology to make sure that every single one of our projects are 100% successful forever and ever and ever. So it's an investment. It's not a handout that we give. It's a hand up, and it's a means to get the villagers out of poverty, to be persons that give back and to have dignity again, because that's what we really want to provide, is dignity. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nermeen and Samantha, for your great presentation. And just to tie it into social action, there's a theory of levels of tzedakah, or righteous behavior, righteous giving, that begins with a monetary donation to somebody. And Maimonides, who's a scholar about 900 years ago, had this ladder of tzedakah, and the 8th and highest rung of the latter is essentially to teach somebody else a trade or a vocation so that they can become self-sustaining. So it really matches quite well, at least in my opinion, to that. Thank you so much for all the work and for opening our eyes, especially mine, to what you're doing. Really appreciate it. We're going to continue the service on page 282 with the words of Aleinu, the adoration. Ask everybody to rise as we open the ark. Aleinu leshabeach Adon hakol, latet gedola liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam. Vanachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nehemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz. Hayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue in our prayer book on page 294 with the words of Mourner's Kaddish, also words of praise. As we think of families who are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, of course, those throughout the world who have lost a loved one due to the pandemic, as well as the following individuals we remember with love: Brian Mahardy, friend of Bill Ross; Mildred Fetterman Plotnick, mother of Francine Spector; Erwin Kern, uncle of Irene Lipensky and Susan Satinoff; Armando R. Caballero, father of Luz Himmelhock; Robert Allen, father of Deborah Allen; Clayton Lee Van Ness, husband of Norma Bloomberg; Jackie Salenfriend, friend of Janet Edelman; Martin Henry Young, brother of Elaine Hendricks; Abraham Konigsberg, uncle of Stephen Konigsberg; and Frank Blitzer, husband of Arlene Blitzer. And we also mark with a sense of love and affection the yahrzeit anniversary of one's passing, as we remember on this Shabbat Benjamin Albin, Marshall Barron, Molly Brevoort, Sadie Deerfield, Pauline Deinhardt, Sylvia Estulin, Doris Ferguson, Hedwig Goldschmidt, Abraham Herbstein, William Jackson, Morris Kannigson, Anna Kassoff, Max Kligman, Margaret Kovac, Sherry Lidskin, Gusta Mellinger, Rachel Novak, Morris Uziel, Amy Prusky, Ray Schwartz, Joanne Sorkers, William Stein, Ann Stosser, and Ida Wenig. Are there any other names to add for yahrzeit? We say Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of these good people continue to be a source of blessing as we rise in order to praise God's name by reciting the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, b'agalav v'zman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivarach le'alam u'lalmei al-maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shemei dekudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yama v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and the world, as we say, amen. V'imru, 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 amen. V'imru, 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 amen. Feel free to be seated. We'll turn to our Shabbat Kiddush, wine or grape juice, being the symbol of joy in Jewish tradition, and going all the way back to the beginning of the prayer book. On page 5, or right on the screen before you, you'll find the words to Shabbat Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikra'i kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen. Say l'chaim to life. All right, we'll continue with the motzi for bread from the earth. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Announcements. Hodaot, as you'd say it in Hebrew. The first, on Monday the 22nd at 6:30 p.m., the Sisterhood's going to live stream a Charoset Around the World program featuring edible mortar from Syria, Morocco, and a twist on an Ashkenazic recipe. On Tuesday, the 23rd at 11 a.m., I'll be leading the first of our 3-part adult ed live stream series on Musar. This is Jewish spiritual practice and character traits. On Thursday, March 25th at 7 p.m., Sisterhood will Zoom their spring education event featuring the Florida Israel Business Accelerator with 2 featured speakers. And on Sunday, March 28th at 6 p.m., we will live stream our virtual second night Passover Seder. We're going to be using virtual Haggadah, the Seder book called Sharing the Journey that you'll see on the screen before you. So when I was thinking this week about, okay, what's a Jewish song having to do with water? So the first one that came to my mind is the classic that probably some of you at home or here might be thinking of is Mayim, which is it's an Israeli folk dance. But that's not what we're going to do, because that would be too easy, even though it's very nice. But I thought there are, of course, other references to water. And in the Psalms, in Psalm 93, verses 4 through 5, there's two verses that say the following: above the voices of many waters, the mighty breakers of the sea. What we see is clear, say the faithful. Your house, God's house, is holy forevermore. So for those of you in the sanctuary, if you open up the Shabbat booklet to the second page, you'll find this. This is a really cool version. It's almost electronica. This guy named Yaakov Steinerman put it together. I almost asked him to bring the synth just for this, but we'll do it acoustically, and hopefully you'll like it. The Hebrew is Mikolot Mayim. Mayim Rabim Adir Adirim Mishbere Yam. And then the second part in Hebrew, Eidotecha ne'emnu me'od leveitcha nava kodesh. So the translation was as I shared with you before. So here it goes. Adir adirim mishbureyam, mikolot mayim rabim. Adir adirim mishbureyam, above the voices, many waters, the mighty breakers of the sea. Above the voices, many waters, the mighty breakers of the sea. Eidotecha, enu meod, beita nava kodesh. Eidotecha, enu meod, beita nava kodesh. What we see is clear. Say the faithful, your house is holy forevermore. What we see is clear. Say the faithful, your house is holy forevermore. Hope you enjoyed that. We're going to close out our Shabbat service with many thanks to Tim for his voice and his piano skills, as well as our tech crew behind helping out with the stream and with the visual tefillah. Our blessing for health and well-being, for the importance of wearing a mask, protecting yourself and protecting others around you. We say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, which is the mitzvah or sacred obligation of protecting our life and protecting others. Once again, thank you for Water for Mercy, for being here, Samantha and Nermeen. I wish you all Shabbat Shalom until I see you next week. Take care.